Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined as always by FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray. Thanks for joining us on a Friday show. Really appreciate it. 3 o'clock Eastern today. That is not the time this podcast usually is, but we had to make some accommodations, and we do it for you. Max Scherzer, Toronto Blue Jay. Jorge Polanco, Seattle Mariner, since the last time we spoke. And the Dylan Cease trade wins, maybe heating up, maybe not. We'll try to give everybody some insight into what's going on there. Obviously, Pete Alonso. Obviously, Alex Bregman. We know everybody wants to hear about these names. We're going to give you what we know, as well as open Robert's notebook and answer your questions. And here to help me out is FanSided's MLB insider, Robert Murray. Robert, how you doing, man?
I'm a lot better. I took a little personal day yesterday to kind of relax and recharge the batteries. I got working internet, which is always a good thing. I don't think I'm lagging anymore, which absolutely ideal. We're a week away from the Eagles playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, so that's not great. We still got to wait that long. But it feels good to be here. We got lots to talk about. We got moves happening. We got things happening behind the scenes, all that good stuff. I'm ready to talk about it with you, Adam. How are you doing? Cooper says hello to you and the entire audience except for Jacob Zanola.
Yep, who had himself a little bit of a week, so shout out Jacob Zanola, but yeah, Cooper still hates you. I'm doing well, sifting through the news of the week. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up on this channel, on the Baseball Insiders feed in general, and we want everybody to be a part of it, so shout out to you all. Yeah, we have Wi-Fi. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. If you are a fan of the Baseball Insiders and you are not subscribed to the channel, why? You got to do that, but you can also hit the join button below the subscribe button. Get access to the Discord, either at the Rumor Mill or the All-Star tier. You can ask us questions, private Q&As in the All-Star channel, priority responses in this particular chat, and we love to see everybody show up. Whether you're a Discorder or not, asking your questions, we'll get to as many as we can. Also, the Moonshot, if you are not subscribed, Robert and I are on that weekly. That is FanSided's baseball email newsletter, where the FanSided MLB team, including Robert Murray, myself, a bunch of other great names, break down all the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, and behind-the-scenes info. You can also find that on the Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com. That is where you get the latest rumors and notes from Robert, humor and insight from yours truly, and the best of baseball and pop culture crossing over from the FanSided MLB staff writers. Check that out. An interview went live this morning that I did with Bobby Bonilla yesterday. It went live on the YouTube channel. Also wrote it up on the Baseball Insiders written feed. So if you like reading, that's where you can read. There are some spots on the internet where you can read. That is one of them. It might be my favorite. Probably is. Robert, we can start with probably Max Scherzer getting done last night. We've been talking about the Jays on this show plenty the last couple of weeks, because it went from silent offseason to frustrated fans to all of a sudden Jeff Hoffman, Anthony Santander, Max Scherzer sort of all in a row. And Jays fans don't think they're done. I don't think the Jays intend to be done. So Scherzer and the Jays was a match we've spoken about before. This did not come out of thin air, but it's official. 500,000 more than Justin Verlander. I don't think that's an accident. But what's the latest on Scherzer's fit in Toronto, and is there more on the horizon? Perhaps Pete Alonso.
I'm going to start this off by saying this. We all gave the Blue Jays a ton of flack for their lack of movement. I was among them. I went out foul territory and even said that it's time for the Blue Jays to be the bride and not the bridesmaid. And they're going out and they're proving everyone wrong. And they're going out and they're getting Max Scherzer. They're getting Anthony Santander. They're getting Jimenez, they're getting Jeff Hoffman, they're getting a lot of these guys. And I think Ross Atkins in that front office deserves a ton of credit, because things were in a really dark spot this offseason, especially after they missed out on Juan Soto and they missed out on Shohei Ohtani last year. We've gone over that many times here. But the work that front office has done is they're positioning that roster to be a contender again next year or this year. And I don't think they're done. I think they're still going to try to pursue Pete Alonso. We've seen rumors connect them to Alex Bregman, which we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I want to give the Blue Jays in that front office their flowers, because a lot of people gave them flack. I was among them. And now that they're actually making moves and they're signing good players, they deserve their credit. They deserve their flowers here. As far as Scherzer goes, I thought that was a fit that made sense all along here. And if you were tuned into this podcast, you knew that they were interested in Max Scherzer. I am a little surprised, though, by the timing of it, just because I thought the Blue Jays would have to add maybe another bat in order to convince Scherzer to go there, because you think at this point of his career, He's going to want to end up being like on a contending team. I mean, I'm not saying the Blue Jays aren't a contender, but you'd think he'd want to have a legitimate chance at a World Series. And I thought for Scherzer to sign there, they'd have to go out and get like a Pete Alonso or a Bregman or someone along those lines. But Scherzer is now in Toronto, and that bolsters that rotation even more. I don't necessarily know exactly what's coming next for them, but I do not anticipate them being done, especially with those big names lingering on the market. And I mean, surely they're going to be involved in some other stuff too. I know one of the guys that they have interest in is Alex Verdugo. So we'll see there exactly where they ultimately pivot or what else they do. But Scherzer was a big priority for them. They got it done. And $15.5 million, you are correct. That's not an accident, because as soon as we saw Justin Verlander and Charlie Morton sign for $15 million, that was going to be the benchmark for Scherzer. And Boris ended up getting them $500K more. And now Scherzer's in Toronto, and they've done a pretty good job this offseason. So props to Toronto.
Props to Toronto, and more proof that it's always darkest before the dawn. I understand the Blue Jays fans complaining for sure. When your front office looks inactive beyond all belief, there's definitely no reason to sit there smiling with a fork and knife being like, I'm going to eat this up. This rules. I love this. That being said, we've seen the past few off seasons patience pay off, and patience has paid big dividends for the Toronto Blue Jays, leading into this Jim Bowden tweet that a lot of the comments want us to address, where Jim Bowden noted about a half hour ago, quote, "There is no question who the most aggressive teams right now for Alonso and Bregman are, and it's the Blue Jays and Cubs, which could dampen the two from returning to their former teams." I am still in the camp of I will believe it when I see it, when Pete Alonso is not a Met on opening day and when Alex Bregman is not an Astro on opening day. That said, thoughts on that tweet? Because obviously aggression does not mean done deal, but yeah, a lot of aggression in the Blue Jays camp and the Cubs camp.
Yeah, I did not see that tweet. These I don't know. This is just my general thoughts on this entire situation. Is I agree with you, Adam. As far as Pete Alonso goes to start off here, I'll believe it when I see it, when he eventually doesn't return to the Mets. I mean, we'll see what happens there. I'm not ruling them out unless he ends up actually signing somewhere else. Obviously, the negotiations have not gone well. We've seen Steve Cohen speak out about the negotiations and call it even tougher than Soto, which that was an incredibly challenging negotiation for all sides involved here. But I would imagine, based on his ties there and what he's done in New York, I would imagine that Alonso is going to want to return to New York. I don't think that's a secret, or I don't think that's it's not sourced by any means, but I mean, he's built a very strong career in New York. It's where he's come up, and I can't imagine he's going to be in a hurry to leave. The Blue Jays, they do like him a lot. What's not to like about Pete Alonso? But I still think the Mets, as long as Alonso's still out there, they're gonna remain a threat here. And Bregman, he's still absolutely in play for the Astros. Like, they've called it a long shot. Like, internally, they've even said that publicly, with Dana Brown admitting it's a long shot. But now with Jorge Polanco signing in Seattle, like, that eliminates one of their secondary options, and they're going to turn their attention to Bregman. I would also look for the Astros to continue to look in the outfield trade market to try to add a name there. So we'll see. But that's exactly the kind of info I have as of this point. So we'll see. But I'm kind of in agreement where I'll believe it when I see it, if they do eventually end up leaving their long-term teams here.
We appreciate the insight, as well as we had a couple super chats come in before the show started. They were both about the Angels and Pete and Alex Bregman specifically. So I hope that answers your question. It does not seem like the Angels are maybe as aggressive in that mix as others. We just got one from Robbie Hyde as well, because the other tweet, and I understand why Red Sox fans are reading this one, is Bob Nightingale this morning agreeing with what we just said, saying that it seems almost inevitable that Pete Alonso returns to the Mets. He called the Detroit Tigers and Boston Red Sox looming co-favorites for Alex Bregman, with no movement in Astros talks. So that was 5 hours ago. Now in the last half hour, we have the Cubs being labeled the most aggressive. I guess, final thoughts on the Bregman pursuit. It's hard to label co-favorites when this whole thing has been stagnated for so long.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't know if I'd call anybody the favorites at this point, because it's just been every time you hear about the Bregman sweepstakes, you hear the Astros call themselves a long shot. You hear of the Tigers' talks and that they were at a standstill. You hear about the Red Sox, and for the most part, all offseason, it's like you've heard no progress there. And the Cubs, they've been mentioned recently. I don't know if they're going to be willing to do a long-term deal there. I mean, obviously, if you sign a guy like Bregman, you wonder about the futures of Nico Horner there. They're also not going to want to block the future of Matt Shaw, who's got he's got superstar potential. Every time you talk to scouts about Matt Shaw, you just hear rave reviews about him. So I'm not ready to like term a team co-favorites or a favorite at this point. I still think even at this point of the offseason is too early for that. But there is interest there. Boris has made it clear that he wants a long-term deal there for Bregman. He believes he'll get it, but I don't know that we're necessarily closer to a resolution than we were even on Wednesday.
Are the Astros just being fake humble here? Like standing in the corner at prom, twiddling their thumbs, being like, little old me? Like, who would ever want to sign with me? Meanwhile, they know they're about to be named prom king. I don't know. You got to wonder.
No, you absolutely got to wonder. And plus, too, another thing is if they also don't want to get their fan base's hopes up here. And all of a sudden they get their hopes up again and then watch Bregman sign with a different team. And then they're like, what the heck happened? That's another part that they gotta be careful of. But I believe them when they believe, or when they say it's a long shot. They're not ruling it out. So anything can happen here. But there's no favorite at this point in the Bregman sweepstakes here.
And tomorrow is February, so stay tuned for the February shows on the Baseball Insiders, where we try to figure out where Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman are going, even though they probably should have gone somewhere a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of things that are undecided and undetermined, the San Diego Padres and Dylan Cease trade talks, people are going to be bringing up Cease's name for the rest of the offseason, and if he stays past opening day, people are going to be bringing his name up once again at the trade deadline. I've seen the Cubs involved. I have seen the Mets involved. I have seen the Braves involved in the Twitter rumor mill. I'm not like an all-knowing seer. I'm not watching these teams get involved. But these are the teams I've seen, maybe someday, but as of now, no. These are the teams I have seen linked over the past 24 hours or so. And the Mets and Michael King as well, even though Michael King, congrats to him and the Padres, arbitration agreement today. No fight, no fuss, no muss, mutual option for 2026. Actually, I saw the future here. That mutual option will be declined by somebody. He will not be signing a mutual option in 2026. But thoughts on Cease trade specifically, because a King trade feels a little bit less likely now, although obviously you can't rule it out.
No, I think that's right. Is with Dylan Cease, the rumors about him have been rampant all offseason. We've seen him mentioned in different trade rumors here. I would not rule out a trade, but I don't think we're close by any means. We've seen the Cubs linked. We've seen the Mets linked. The Mets, I don't know if there's a match there quite yet. The Cubs, I'm kind of in the same boat there. I'm struggling to see a match as of this point. So I'm not ruling out a trade to either one of those teams because things can change. But as of this point, I don't believe anything is imminent there. But surely there's going to be plenty of teams that are going to be motivated to go out and get a Dylan Cease type, because we're talking one of the best right-handed pitchers in baseball. He's immensely talented, and he is entering the last year of his deal, which that is a category where the Padres absolutely listen onto any of their players, and especially in trade talks here. And getting King done and the structure of that, which I'll dive into that, and I'll get back into Cease. Mm-hmm. The structure of that and how they spread out the money so he's not getting it all up front really, to me, speaks to the financial issues that team has right now. And we've heard all offseason, especially on this podcast, that the Padres were not going to be that overly active in free agency. That deal to me spoke volumes about their financial situation. So I saw John Heyman mention that they could be in the starting pitching market if they move a guy like Cease. I believe he linked them to Flaherty and Pivetta, if I'm correct on that. So I certainly wouldn't rule that out if Cease is moved, but their financial situation right now is not good. Their offseason actions speak to it, because we know how aggressive AJ Preller is on the market. He is probably baseball's most aggressive GM. And to see him sitting on the sidelines this entire offseason, that's not in his nature. This is probably really bugging him, seeing very talented players that he would typically be in on not come to San Diego. So that financial situation to me has spoken volumes all offseason, and the latest example here was with the King deal. But with Cease, yeah, he's a very legit, very good pitcher. 1 year remaining on his contract. I don't know of anything imminent there, but I think a trade there would make sense for both sides. And especially with him being represented by Scott Boras, you can't expect an extension to get done before he reaches free agency.
Scott Boras, the big man. Yeah, we will obviously keep an eye on this as well as the offseason hurdles towards its conclusion. And we're like 2 weeks away from spring training, from pitchers and catchers reporting. So we got to figure this out at some point, financial issues aside. Appreciate the notes. I want to talk about Jorge Polanco as well. Signed last night, and you mentioned him earlier when you were talking about Astros Alex Bregman alternatives. Kind of a weird. I thought it was weird for the Astros to be involved on Polanco and then still maybe move him to left or Altuve to left, and we talked about that recently. Mariners make a lot more sense. So good job by the Mariners getting a bounce back candidate for just a $7 million base salary for next year. That said, Jorge Polanco was a Yankees target. Jack Curry labeled him as such about 3 weeks ago. The Yankees are spending no money. I've seen a lot of comments about David Stearns being cheap. Hal Steinbrenner much? The basically saying that, not all of us can do what the Dodgers do. And meanwhile, every other major league team being like, did you mean to say us? Like, are you really putting yourself and the Yankees in the us bucket? Or did you just mean to, like, why are you trying to group yourself with the other franchises that don't spend $300 million? The Yankees clearly don't want to add an infield target until they can clear Marcus Stroman's money. Clearing Marcus Stroman's money is hard. And we learned when the Polanco deal got announced just how much money they're not willing to spend right now, because $7 million for Jorge Polanco. If you want him, if you like the player, you can do that and still fit under that threshold. The Yankees said, no thanks. He is a Mariner.
No, absolutely. And a return to Seattle always made a lot of sense, because if you look at that offense overall, it is not pretty. And getting Polanco there is an upgrade. It is a player that obviously they went out and acquired him last year. He did not perform to expectations by any means, but they think he will be better this season. Well, obviously, especially after they ended up signing him for around $8 million. But that fit to me always made more sense than the fit in Houston. And Polanco will slide in and be the Mariners' third baseman. And with the Astros, he would have been their second baseman. So now with the Astros, it allows them to go out and continue to pursue Bregman. As I said, it allows them to pursue trades in the outfield market. But this was a move that made so much sense for Seattle here. They needed offensive reinforcements. They didn't necessarily have a lot of money to spend. This offseason, they've gone out and I believe they've gotten Donovan Solano and now Polanco. So it remains to be seen exactly how much money they have to spend. But still incredibly frustrating. We have not heard them mentioned once in the Bregman or Alonso sweepstakes when that fit could not be any more obvious in my eyes. But alas, I'll digress. But with the Yankees too, they missed out on Polanco. I don't know if they were in the Ha-Seong Kim market, but that deal with the Rays was a really good deal for Tampa Bay. I'm surprised there were not more teams that were willing to go out and do that. But getting him for, 2 years for 29 with the second year being an option, that was a really strong deal. That's a very Tampa Bay Rays type deal. It's going to allow him to test free agency at the end of this season if he wants to, which you got to imagine he'll probably want to, because he'll miss part of the season. He'll be healthy for the end of the season, at least as long as everything goes according to plan. But that was a very smart move for Tampa. But with Kim now off the board and with Polanco now off the board, I don't necessarily know where the Yankees are going to go out and pivot. Do you have any options in your mind, Adam, or no?
I don't like any of them. I wrote about this. It'll run tomorrow. Like, I was pretty adamant that they weren't going to be silly enough to just be like, well, it's Oswaldo Cabrera and DJ LeMahieu and Oswald Peraza. Let's see who wins that competition. Like a month ago, I was like, they're not just going to leave a hole after doing all this other spending. And now I'm like, they might leave a hole. They might just leave a hole. I like Oswaldo Cabrera. And I'm not going to be sitting here being like, that was actually my preferred plan all along, which I'm sure you'll hear some New York media members say, like, actually, Oswaldo splits, and that no, it's obviously a worse idea than getting an upgrade. But look, if it's Cabrera, fine. It can't be DJ LeMahieu at this juncture. I don't think it will be. If you put DJ LeMahieu head to head right now against anybody in an open competition, he's not going to win. Brendan Rodgers has been discussed. I know he's more of a second baseman that moves Jazz to third, or you move Brendan to third. I don't like that. Paul DeYoung. I mean, we're talking about bench guys right now, or a Luis Ariz trade, which we've already all but ruled out. If the Padres want to come calling, we can talk about it. Ariz's limited range going to his right means he might be a better fit at third than second anyway, less of a butcher. Like, you can add an all-star, you can add a 3-time running batting champion in the New York Yankees. I think that helps more than slotting Oswaldo Cabrera in there. That said, it feels like you can rule out Arenado and Bregman and the other non-Ariz. Willie Castro, Luis Rengifo. These are some guys. I'm just naming some guys at this point. If it's not going to be super underwhelming, I feel like it's got to be on the trade market.
No, for sure. And also, I mean, I don't mind that suggestion here from Doc. A good job by Doc. What about Cronenworth and Cease? I'm just saying. I don't know. Just a thought. I don't know if they would absolutely. I don't know if they'd actually do that, but I mean, it would also free up some room for the Padres. So I don't know. We'll see, but I'm sure that's one of like infinite amount of scenarios that have been thrown around in league circles here. So I don't know. I have no dope to suggest that's even been talked about, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I like the idea of the Yankees being creative. I like that they've spoken to the Padres in the recent past. The Padres can't be that upset with the Juan Soto return. Like, you were able to spin Drew Thorpe into something pretty big. You got Michael King. You cleared Trent Grisham's money. We helped you. Now maybe we can help each other again. I do like the comment saying the Padres are saying Xander Bogaerts is available if teams take on his contract. Not to be rude, but you think?
Yeah, they were way, way, way ahead of anybody else in the bidding on that one. That was a huge contract. I remember I was at the winter meetings because that broke at the winter meetings. And I remember hearing about the terms before they got reported. And I'm like, what? that was a very big contract. That was one of the that was an overpay. I think that was very clear to say, or very fair to say, especially in hindsight now. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be any team that takes on his contract willingly. That would have the Padres would have to eat a good amount of that and maybe attach a prospect or two. That's not good.
That was that story that came out at the time about Chaim Bloom like walking away in the airport to like breathe out of frustration after he heard the Xander contract. Maybe that story was reported incorrectly. I feel like maybe he walked away to laugh a little bit under his breath and didn't want anybody to see. But who knows? Certainly not me. Thank you. We appreciate all the questions. Got a couple from the All-Star chat I want to get to as well before we get to the notebook and do all we can for the end of the show. Beyond the Halo in the All-Star channel, wanted to ask about the Angels being active in the infield market, whether they have maybe just missed out on targets or have not even been involved. He cited Polanco. He cited Hai-Song Kim. He cited Gleyber Torres, who we know they were rumored to have been connected to earlier in the offseason. This ties into the Yankees question too, though, because if the Angels are looking to upgrade, and if they maybe do before the end of the offseason, even though, like we just said, there are very few upgrades left, maybe that shakes Rengifo off the tree. Maybe the Yankees can grab that infield solution. But any thoughts there on the Angels in the infield market, whether they've been actively pursuing and bidding up or barely involved and the rumor mill has just sort of taken hold and taken command there?
I'll be totally honest beyond the Halo. I can't say I've heard much about the Angels in the infield market. We've obviously seen the reports about Pete Alonso. I maintain that I don't see that being the ultimate fit there at the end of the day. But as far as the other infield options go, I can't say I've heard that. I've heard them more connected to just some of the I don't know, just what I've heard, and I don't have specific names, is that the Angels are looking at the bigger names now, and then they'll like dive into some of the different markets, especially one of them being like the bullpen market, because they're going to be looking at a couple of different arms there. But that is the dope that I have on the Angels, is that they're looking bigger now, and then they're going to shift their gears to a different thing. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if that necessarily narrows it down for you, but that's the information that I've got for you right now. So I don't know. I apologize if that doesn't answer your question necessarily.
We appreciate it being asked, and join us in the All-Star channel for any follow-ups, of course. Seeing a super chat come in here from Sean Garner asking about the Jim Bowden Bregman report. Unfortunately, we did already cover that, but we can happily help you. You scroll back to the start of the show. We did Scherzer first directly into Bregman, so it should be the second segment of the show. We hope that answers your question. And Between the Bases also asking about the Yankees infield situation. Just went over that as well. Don't have much clarity, and I don't have any options I really enjoy. But hopefully we're talking about the Yankees adding an infielder in the coming weeks. Hopefully. Freaking better be, but we'll see. Thank you for the question, as always. One more Discorder. Damian asked about Ryan Brazier, who was DFA'd last night by the Dodgers. That must be nice to be able to DFA a guy with a 1 ERA like that last year from the World Series champion roster. But he asked if there's any chance the Dodgers can work out a trade after the DFA, or if Brazier's just going to clear. I would imagine, yeah, trade's probably coming here, because I expected a trade before the DFA, but either way, they got that business out of the way, and now an extremely good reliever is on the market in a pile of extremely good relievers. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there is. But here, the thing is even before he got DFA'd, there wasn't necessarily a lot of trade interest in Brazier. So I don't know if a trade necessarily is likely there now that he's DFA'd. So let's pretend that he does not end up getting traded, and he ends up clearing waivers and gets released. He's gonna have his pick of the litter for whatever team he goes to. So I mean, we'll see, but he's gonna end up garnering a lot of interest in free agency. But yeah, I don't necessarily know if a trade is the most likely thing in the world, which is, I know it's bizarre, especially coming off of the year that he had in LA. But before he got DFA'd, I don't think he got that much interest.
Interesting. Not the answer I maybe expected, but that's why we asked the questions. Thank you for that. And thank you for the All-Star chat, Damian. Hope that helped. Nobody wants Ryan Brazier. Sorry. Nobody's helping. Got a couple more questions. I got to touch on the Pirates right field, because I like doing this as just a daily question. We get Pirates fans who show up. It's my favorite tradition of January 2025. Pirates fans show up, ask about potential right field fill-in. We tell them, if you have a pulse and a body, and you could breathe, and you have a glove, you working legs, you can run around the outfield, you are in consideration. Although we said that for a while, and then they signed Adam Frazier. And then the Pirates fans were like, is Adam Frazier an outfield solution? Like, he can breathe, he has a pulse. And we were like, nope, that's not it. So we still, apparently that's the line we draw. It's like, you got to have a pulse. But if you're Adam Frazier, no, that doesn't count. So any other clarity there? It's not Frazier, and it might be Sawinski, might be Palacios, but free agency wise, I don't think we know.
No, I mean, I don't even need to answer it at this point. You did a great job, Adam. That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing new as far as what I've gathered on the Pirates here. They're looking for outfield help. I don't know. There's been reports about Hayes being a player of interest for them. I mean, obviously now he's in Cincinnati, but I remember when I checked on Austin Hayes and their interest there, that is when I was told that line of, if you have a pulse, the Pirates will be interested in you. So that's exactly how that worked. But Verdugo is still on the board. He is a player of interest in Pittsburgh, but surely there will be other options that they're interested in, but it's just nothing has gotten across the finish line quite yet.
Sources indicating MLB deadline news that I am a candidate to play right field in Pittsburgh. I did play right field junior and senior year. I kind of have an arm. I got an accurate arm, relatively, moderate velocity. And do I have a bat? No, but I have a pulse. So maybe I'd be willing to entertain. I would play right field for the Pirates if they asked. I don't even need much, but I would do it for free. I would save luxury tax cash.
No, I mean, you'd be a great fit in Pittsburgh. You'd probably be an upgrade there. I think. I might tweet now that the Pirates are interested in you, Adam.
I'll take that. I mean, look, I wouldn't play for free. I don't know why I just said that. I would pay. You just have to match my current salary. I'm not sacrificing money to go play right field for the Pirates and suck and get hated by the fan base and have every Pirates fan screaming, like, get this bum out of here. Like, I wouldn't do that for free. I wouldn't be good. But if they can match my salary, perks, free shoes, free gloves, I think I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to match your what? Because you're making $5 million here at Fansided.
Yeah, that's what I'm making. I'm making $5 million. I'm asking for the Alex Verdugo contract.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah, I'll tweet that right now. Good job, Adam. boy, I mean, you're making the big bucks over here. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels good. I think we just got a super chat that's just a cheers. So thank you. We appreciate you showing up. Unless this is a question I'm not understanding, some slang I'm not up on. I think you're just saying thank you. So appreciate it, and appreciate everybody for joining us. Anything else in the notebook before we sign off for the week and come back on Monday?
No, I think we covered it all. There's been a few different things percolating behind the scenes. Not at liberty to say them quite yet, but hopefully before too long, I'm able to reveal those things. But just know the market is active behind the scenes, and hopefully we'll have something to announce in the coming days and coming weeks. So fingers crossed. But no, I appreciate you, Adam. Good show today. I appreciate you. Everyone in the comments. Cooper, who I don't know where Cooper is. He might be sleeping on my bed now, but it's nap time for Cooper. I think it's nap time for Jacob Zanola too, who has been designated for assignment by the Chicago Cubs, by the way. Sources tell me. So good job of the Cubs finally getting rid of a tubby. So there we go.
Appreciate everybody joining us. As always, we'll see you here on Monday. I will be producing next week while Joanne and the rest of the video team are in New Orleans for the Super Bowl festivities. So feel free to make my life a living hell in the comments. Or be nice. Being nice would also be great, quite frankly. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Joanne, for your hard work here. Thank you, Robert, for talking us through this. And thank you, Toronto Blue Jays, for waking up and keeping the offseason interesting in the month of January. I would give, this is the last day of January, I'd give the Blue Jays my January MVP. The Dodgers did more, but everybody hated it. And the Blue Jays made more interesting moves and interesting connections. So I'm going to give the Blue Jays my January MVP.
No, I'm in agreement with you on that one. They did a good job this month. They got more to do. So they're not done yet, but I think the Blue Jays, they deserve their flowers. And it's good to see that franchise be active and that fan base be rewarded. I hope they go out and get Alonso or Bregman or whoever, because having Toronto be victorious and be in contention, that always makes it more fun. So that good job, Toronto. And good job, Adam, and good job, Joanne. We all appreciate you guys.
Yes, we appreciate you all. Take care, everybody. We'll see you back here on Monday afternoon, 3:30 Eastern, for another edition of the Baseball Insiders. Bye, y'all.
Thank you, buddy.